Center of Excellence, Richard Bagley, Manufacturing Site Center of Excellence Lead for UK, Jordi Fernandez, Supply Chain Planning Manager for Southwest Europe, and our 3 grads on supply chain, Tess van Strien, Marike Jansen, and Sven van Escher, so who will be sharing their experiences. So Belen, if you would like to start walking them through your background and experience, that would be great.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Welcome everybody. I have been in this amazing company the last 15 years of my life. I have 30 years of experience always in supply chain, and I love the supply chain. And right now I am leading a big transformation in PepsiCo that is helping us to moving forward in a more digital, automate planning, allowing, let me say, to cover all the expectations that the customers they have in terms of production, logistics, and so on. Okay, welcome and happy to answer all your questions and doubts, and also clarify to you that at the end you are going to love to join supply chain, sure.
Thank you, Belen. Richard?
Hi, so I'm Rich. I'm the Centre of Excellence Lead for Manufacturing in the UK. So my job is to help about 1,000 of our supply chain colleagues building their capability and skills to manufacture some of the best snacks that you can buy anywhere in the world. I've been with the organisation about 8 years now. I started working in the plant that we've got in Skelmersdale. I've done a number of roles in both the UK and in Europe, working in snacks, juice and grains. And I can only echo what Belen said. Hopefully you leave this hour or so with a great enthusiasm for PepsiCo and in particular for supply chain.
Thank you, Rich. Jordi?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Well, my name is Jordi Fernandez. I'm based in Barcelona. I'm living here in the headquarters for the southwest of Europe, and I'm responsible for the supply planning team in snacks. Okay, and my team are the ones that we're ensuring the replenishment for all the raw materials, and we are the ones also who tell the sites, who tell the plants what to produce, where to produce, and how much. So we are in charge to really ensure that the sites are producing for all consumers, and I mean we don't have any issue at all. I joined PepsiCo like 25 years ago, so when I was really graduated from university as you are right now, and I start with a really small project to really to understand the process to recover all the cases that we were producing and sending to the customers. And from then I jumped to another project, to another project, to another project, until now, 25 years later, I'm here. And I'm happy to be here, that I really enjoy the journey working in PepsiCo and most of the time in supply planning. I also have the opportunity to work in procurement, that it's just a step before supply planning. And well, and I will be here to answer all your questions.
Thank you, Jordi. Can we move into the grad? Tess?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session. So my name is Tess van Strien, and I've joined the Dare to Do More challenge last year. And currently I'm one of the Go Grads within supply chain. I've been a Go Grad now for plus minus 1.5 years. In my first year, I started within our headquarters, where I worked and had rotations among several departments within customer service and logistics. I started at customer service, not to confuse it with consumer service, that's something else. Then I went to logistics, where you really look at all the transport, the planning, and also the transformation, which is more like project optimization, process optimization, which is really the complete picture from the headquarters side. And currently I'm working as a frontline manager in our crisp plant, which means I'm responsible for a team of 25 people leading the production of our snacks plant. So that's a very, very cool adventure. So when it comes to my background, I actually don't have a background in supply chain. I have a master's degree in life science and technology, which is more like biomedical sciences. I have 2 specializations. On one hand, research. I actually did research to skin cancer, something completely different. But I also did a master in science-based business, where you really look at, okay, how can we use innovations and current technologies? How can we use it in favor of our business? And this is also really came in handy during this challenge, of course, because my idea was to prevent human error using technology. So to create a passive system using RFID technology, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, to prevent errors when using foil, because you can imagine you don't want to have the wrong flavored chip in the wrong bag, because that's all kinds of risk. We don't want that. For me, the best part of that to do more, for me, it was being able to see one of PepsiCo's plants from the inside. We had the opportunity to visit one of the plants, and I found it very amazing. It's also one of the reasons how I came up with my idea. And it was also nice to also meet all the other grad, meet all the leaders within PepsiCo, and also hear their stories and hear all the great ideas. And for me, the best part was actually winning the finals in the field of supply chain. So I'm super proud of that. And I can say, as my experience as a grad so far, it's amazing. It's an adventure. You have lots of responsibility from day one. As I mentioned, I'm now leading a team of 25 people. That's not something a lot of people can say after only 1 year of working. And it's really cool to see how all departments within supply chain really relate to each other. How does one department influence the other? And you really get the big picture. So it's an adventure I can really recommend.
Thank you, Tess.
Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Sven van Aarschot and I'm the supply chain graduate from Belgium. So I did a very similar graduate program as Tess. So I started, but then of course in Belgium. I started last year in September at the headquarters in Brussels. Also rotations in customer service, 2 months, 3 months logistics, short-term planning, long-term planning, and then the transformation team. Right now, I'm currently, as you see, I'm working in the plant. I'm also wearing my clothes, of course. Food safety is always our top priority. And I'm currently the frontline manager for logistics, also like supervising a team of around 20 people only in the logistics department. My background is more in engineering, so I studied chemical engineering at the University of Leuven, and after that I still wanted to do something more with it. So I did a postgraduate in innovative entrepreneurship, and during that year I really gained my passion about finding ideas and also about being fast and being like involved in certain companies, and that's why I also created my idea for the Dare to Do More challenge. So I couldn't find the exact pictures of my idea, but my idea was the box to bag, because I saw a very interesting trend within PepsiCo and within the industry. So the FMCGs were really focusing on the e-commerce, and I wanted to make that packaging material more sustainable. So as an engineer, I was already thinking about how can I make a product that would become more sustainable. So I developed a type of packaging bag which can be inflated, and with that inflated air, you protect your products, and you can of course reuse it afterwards. It's really to avoid the single-use waste that we create in online e-commerce. Then the experience from Dare to Do More, of course. First thing was also I got invited into production plant of Zeebrugge, the Tropicana production plant, and I get a really first glimpse of what was working for PepsiCo. I have met the colleagues. There was some nice after work activity for the grads and for the colleagues, and it was a really nice experience to see how the PepsiCo working life was, to learn more about the culture that we always trying to achieve. And also, I received some support and some feedback on my idea during that session, but also then afterwards during the finals from senior leaders. So that was always very useful to see. And also, yeah, I really liked meeting all the other grads. Everybody was so ambitious. All the ideas were like really nice. It was always the same, like, oh, it's a really nice idea, and explain me more about it because maybe we can see it go further. And yeah, for my graduate program, yeah, right now I'm doing it 1 year and 1 month, and I'm still here. I like it a lot. It's quite heavy because you rotate a lot, especially during the first year. We did 5 rotations, so it's always in a new team, always new people, new colleagues. But it's so nice to broaden your network. For instance, right now in the logistics department in Belgium at the production plant, I need the people at the headquarters. I know how the people in headquarters are working. It's always, yeah, way better to make links with the end-to-end vision of PepsiCo. And of course, I like giving smiles to people every single day with the crisps we bake over here.
Thank you very much for walking us through. Marike?
Hi guys, nice to meet you all. I hope you're already very enthusiastic about supply chain because we are too. I'm actually the counterpart of Tess, so to say, because I'm a supply chain graduate in the Netherlands and I started in the plant. So in the lace plant in Broek op Langendijk, I was working as a frontline manager for the past year, and I must say that was really an incredible experience. Tess already says that now after she's been in for 3 weeks, but I've done it a whole year now, and I know why they call this a critical experience. You really get responsibility from day one. You get to face real life problems. You're gonna be like a real people manager, and you can still drive PepsiCo's vision and KPIs forward by means of your own leadership. So this is really, really great to do. So already this is one of the biggest plus points of this program, I guess. And then, yeah, now I'm in my 2nd year at the headquarters now. I started in demand planning, which is also really interesting to see the entire picture from the other side. So now I can use all the knowledge that I've gained during my year in the factory at the headquarters. Yeah, and I think this is also really the valuable thing. So you get to know the end-to-end supply chain. You really know who's working with what, also where mistakes occur, where that actually comes from, what's the root cause of a problem. Something that you will also learn. I also don't have a background in supply chain at all. I actually did business administration for my bachelor's and my master's in Groningen and in Sweden. But I'm from Germany, and I thought after my master's I really want to go back to the Netherlands because of the open culture, because it's not so hierarchical. I don't know whether you guys like that, but I can say for sure that within PepsiCo I found what I was looking for, because everyone is super open. You can even approach top management with all of your questions. Everyone is willing to help, so that's also a big plus point of this this program. And this sounds really like a promotional speech, but I'm also truly convinced of this, so don't get me wrong on this. And my idea on the Dare to Do More challenge was around sustainable vegetable sourcing to expand the naked juice portfolio. I actually, in fact, didn't even know that naked juice was from PepsiCo when I looked for trends, but I was thinking, well, what kind of demands do consumers have? And then I was thinking, well, I'm actually also a consumer. So I wanted something that fits my lifestyle, which is rather green. I wanted something that also provides you nutrition and health, and also, yeah, a company kind of that tries to improve the world by means of their vision and mission. And that's why I came up with this idea. And that was then growing vegetables vertically in geothermal greenhouses near existing factories to reduce the distance food travels and also optimize production efficiency. And that sounds really complicated. And in fact, my advice would be now to you not to include 3 different ideas into one idea, but to also keep it fairly simple. Yeah, because that can also really make a great, how do you say, a great challenge and a great presentation. So no need to overcomplicate, although it's of course great to have something really innovative. And the best part of Dare to Do More, well, Tess and Sven said they got to see some plans. Well, I didn't see any plans before I started PepsiCo, but I was nevertheless convinced. I think you will also not be able to see plans now because of Corona, but well, that's life. We can tell you that it's really great. I got to meet really inspiring candidates and also business leaders because we all traveled to Readings to the finals. I'm not aware of where the finals will be the upcoming year, but probably also at a really great location. And yeah, it was nice to see that you from scratch develop an own idea, that you make a presentation, and then actually people are convinced in what you've set up, and that you get to present that. And my experience so far, well, I've already told you about my experience on the plan, which is really great. And yeah, I've listed like really a lot of things here because this is really what PepsiCo also describes. It's a fast-paced environment. No day is like the other. You really get a lot of responsibility, trust, and freedom from the first day you're in. You acquire end-to-end supply chain knowledge. And yeah, last but not least, teamwork makes the dream work. That's also what you'll see when you're working in one of our plants. And please, if you have any questions, then go and reach out to us in the Q&A in the end of the session. And now I hope that our business leaders can also give you some valuable insights on what supply chain is actually about and why you should be enthusiastic about this and join our program.
Thank you, Marike, and thank you everyone for an amazing backgrounds, ideas that you have shared with the audience. And now we're going to move to a video that is going to give you an overview of the amazing journey at supply chain.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm the Senior Vice President for Supply Chain for PepsiCo in Europe. What my job's all about is making sure that the planning, make and move of our fantastic high-quality products meet consumers' and customers' needs every single day. The culture here is a real can-do attitude, where every challenge is seen as an opportunity to succeed. We encourage people to really innovate in their thinking and their approach. We are building digital twins of our factories that allows us to use artificial intelligence to think how best to run those plants. We're working with augmented reality headsets to help people see what a factory might look like in the future. The sort of things that are going to make PepsiCo faster, stronger and better are things like curiosity, being really intrigued by what's happening inside and outside the organisation, and then having an impatience for change, really challenging the norms of what's happening around us. What PepsiCo is great at is providing the breadth of opportunities for people to grow their careers in multiple different ways. I'm really excited about the work I'm doing with LEAD, an industry-wide body that's looking at building the profile of female leaders within business, which is really important for PepsiCo. But what I also love is how we celebrate success and really call out the great work that people do.
Thank you. Very inspirational video. So, moving to the next section, we're gonna show we're gonna go to the pool that is going to introduce some of the topics that we will be covering at the round table. So, with the first question, what is the role of supply chain? What do you think? Deliver cost savings, drive cash flow improvements, drive sustainability, identify and deliver innovation, ensure goods and services are available as needed? All above. What do you think? We're going to give a few more seconds to answer. Okay, so the majority, 85%, mentioned all above. So, if panelists, Belen.
Yeah, I am really lucky. I am really lucky that the majority has selected all above. as Paul was mentioning in the video, okay, the supply chain for PepsiCo starts from the raw materials that, depending on the category of the products that we have, can be snacks, and in this case is food, can be beverage, in this case is liquids, and so on. And we should maintain this supply chain of processes in a sustainable, let me say, environment, reducing waste in any operation that we are doing. And waste for us has different angles. Waste that we can use only the raw materials really required. We don't want, let me say, to use something that is wrong. Also, use the right energy and the more sustainable energy for all our factories and let me say locations where we are storing, and also being able to transport in a sustainable way across those. And we need to do in a way that the cost is optimal to allow the customers to get the reasonable price that they want to pay for our products. And for that reason, we are looking always in the cost. And one of the biggest pieces of cost is the inventory, that is cash flow, okay? We want to maintain the right inventory of products in the right warehouses close to our customers. And thanks to a better planning, we can deliver this.
Thank you, Belén. Okay, so moving to the second question. So, you know, PepsiCo works closely with farmers to minimize the co-waste in supply chain. So how many farmers do we partner with in Europe? What do you think? We're gonna give you around a minute. 200, 2,500 or 4,000? With how many do you think that PepsiCo partners? Few more seconds. Okay, so, well, 56% of you have answered 2,500, but I think like the answer might be a different way. I don't know, Rich.
Yeah, so it's 4,000 actually. Obviously, a massive operation across multiple categories, multiple geographies. So ranging from some really quite small farming operations, particularly with the Alvae brand, up to some enormous operations when we talk about potatoes. And we've got an extensive agronomy program that looks at how to help growers really make the best use of the resources available to them to get the maximum yield with the minimum possible input, be that labour, be that kind of natural resources, and all part of the sustainability program. So really wide ranging all across Europe. It's 4,000.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, very interesting. Okay, moving to the third one. What do you think? How many associates work in our European supply chain team? What do you think?
And if the term associate is not common in your language, is how many employees we are working in the different areas of the supply chain.
Thank you, Belén. We want to give a few more seconds. And let's see. What would be your answer? So it's quite like, yeah, similar, but 46% of you have answered 12,000, 42, 27,000. So from the panelists who would like to clarify and share the information.
Yeah, so the right answer is the last one, is 27,000 people. So that gives you the dimension of the supply chain team in Europe is. So it's huge because the supply chain is, I mean, there is so many different activities, as Paul was saying in the video, from planning, production, and distribution. So there is people everywhere in the sites, in the front line producing, in the warehouses, at the transport team moving the product from here to there, the people in the headquarters doing all the planning, doing all the thinking. So I mean, and that gives you also an idea how big is the opportunity joining the supply chain planning, because so many activities, so many different roles, and I mean that gives you the idea of how big we are.
And in terms of sizing, how big we are, total Europe, PepsiCo has 45,000. That means that we are more than 50% of the total employees that PepsiCo has in Europe. Also, Europe for PepsiCo is a huge continent because we are covering full Russia and let me say the former east part, including also Turkey, the Nordic speaks, of course, UK, and let me say the former the current European community. It's more than 45 countries. We are managing, and this is one of the, let me say, challenges of our supply chain in Europe, comparing with our, let me say, foundation in North America. We are managing products that the labels are written in more than 15 different languages with different laws, because the regulations are different across Europe, and we should maintain this ecosystem live and ready for whatever consumer we can find in whatever place. We are the second, PepsiCo is the second FMCG in the world after Nestlé, but we are the first in producing products that are really providing smiles, and you don't need to live. You can survive, but you will be more happy with our products. And this is what is, let me say, challenging us every single day to plan accordingly with the new demand and trends that the consumer wants, to produce in the right way and at the lower cost, and also to be able to transport efficiently to every place in Europe. This is our challenge right now.
Thank you, Belén. And well, we are moving to the next session. That would be the roundtable, but we can see that we have already like a few questions at the Q&A. That perhaps we can start with those questions, and then we move to the roundtable. So there are some questions for the grads, and maybe Tess, you can pick on that one. And one of the questions would be, how in depth is my application supposed to be? Instead of coming up with a new idea, can I develop an existing idea?
Well, I'd be happy to answer that one. So I think this one consists of two questions in one. So I will start with the first part. How in depth is my application supposed to be? My advice here is don't get lost in the details, because I think it's more important to think of the big picture, and that is broadly applicable. And really don't get lost in the details, because of course there's so many things you don't know. There's so many assumptions you have to make. So I think it's most important that you have a strong story with strong evidence, strong trends supporting your idea. And also, for example, for myself, I created an implementation roadmap. So, okay, say we go for this idea, which was technology based, we should do this, that, this, and that. So you just show sort of the steps the company has to take to implement. So don't get lost in the details, that will be my advice. The second part of the question is, instead of coming up with a new idea, can I develop an existing idea? Well, I do think the idea has to be original, so that you have to think of it yourself. But for example, what I did, I lift and shifted the technology for a different purpose. So I used RFID technology, which was not used for the purpose I created in my idea. So think of maybe existing technologies, existing processes, and how can we maybe use it in a completely different way? How can we be creative and innovative to make it work for supply chain? So that would be my advice, to really think out of the box. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Thank you. And Tess, or maybe Marike or Sven, there is another question. How much time did you invest in PowerPoint creation for the first phase of the competition?
Yeah, maybe I will answer that question. I think it depends a little bit. For instance, in my case, yeah, it was just a few slides. I think it was 6 or 7 slides, which just clearly listed what my idea was and the problem description. And I think I didn't spend that much time in it, but it was just more also the storytelling behind it, how you came up with that idea. That's then in the next phase that is more important, I think.
And also to add on that, really show why you make decisions. Have your sources ready, have your background ready to really show why your idea works and why it's good, with some evidence.
Yeah, indeed. It's also the thing that I did. So I first wrote down the problem, first I wrote down the trends, then the problem, then my idea, and then the impact it has, or the conclusion it has, to really show that's the value of my idea. So have a really clear structure, and then it should be fine.
And you will also get a mentor in the end to make your presentation more pretty and more fancy, to really be able to present it then in the final. So indeed, the layout is maybe not the most important thing in the beginning, but it is nice if you have a good layout, because then of course you can convince the people, because in the initial phase they are only going to see your PowerPoint and they won't hear you talking. So I must say I've spent actually quite some time on making the PowerPoint nice already initially, but the idea is of course more important than how it looks. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so while we are getting more questions, we can move to the round table and then back to the Q&A. So, Belén, I'm curious if you could mention some of the examples of what we are implementing emerging technologies in supply chain.
Right now, thanks to the COVID, and we should say thanks to the COVID, we are implementing, let me say, the artificial intelligence in all the data that we are gathering for our supply chain planning processes, to start, let me say, digging what should be the potential, let me say, automation that the system can do that we have never planned, and also that we never thought. Okay, we are gathering the data from the demand planning side and the supply planning side, and thanks to this data we want to identify trends that will help us to optimize production and to optimize also promotions in the future. In the, let me say, physical world, we have started including more automation in our warehouses in order to minimize all the activities, recognizing cases by size, but not only by the famous and traditional barcodes that we have in the labels, and being able to move products faster in the warehouses.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer. And Rich and perhaps Jordi, could you share some example of how you use creativity in your job?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I've been working with because people are trying to think about creativity is marketing in one company, and this is not true. Okay, because for when we launch one product, for sure someone from supply chain is involved from the very beginning. In fact, right now we're working with marketing to develop a new mixed product that is like 3 components in the same bag. And we're working really hard with them to really do this product really creative, really nice, that with a really nice brand, but also to be able to be produced in our plants, in our factories. And I mean, the work together with marketing and R&D teams, it's really, really intense from the very beginning. So, I mean, creativity in supply chain is a must for sure.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. And also, you know, like innovation is another of the topics we have heard as well in the post video. And, you know, like, could you also like give an example of how you have helped to drive and deliver innovation in supply chain?
I'll take that if I may. I think one of the fundamental things that we try and do, and we talk about building capability and skill, and I reference back to, you know, you talked about the ideas for the Dare to Do More program, is to encourage people to keep asking why. If you see something, keep asking why. If I were to give an easy example of if we didn't service the market, we didn't make the product, why didn't we make the product? Because the oven broke. Why did the oven break? Because the bearing failed. Why did the bearing fail? Because it had too much grease in it. Why did it have too much grease in it? Because we never told the guy who puts the grease in the bearing how much to put in, and it wasn't obvious at the point we put it in. And then you come up with the solution off the back of that, right? So then how do we put a creative solution in place to make sure that failure mode never happens again? And the point for all great inventions or all great ideas, all great solutions, it always starts with a real world problem to solve. Yeah, you don't start with a kind of just something imaginary or you know, disconnected from reality. It starts with an opportunity, or it starts with a problem. So the heart of creativity is identifying what the right problem to solve is, and then going after it.
And you know, like you all sound like really passionate, you know, like all of you. And for instance, you know, like Rich, on you, like, what do you like the most of working at supply chain? Could you share it, you know, like with the audience and see, you know, like.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, fundamentally, I guess I work in supply chain. My background's engineering, so you could say I'm an engineer, but really I'm a people manager, right? That's what I do. I manage people and I work with people and I help to build people's capability and skill and help them to grow their career. And the thing I like most about PepsiCo is the opportunities to work with different people. So I you know, but then reference the spread of geography. I've worked with individuals in Pepsi all the way from Turkey in my current team, with Russia, all the way over to the UK and pretty much every country in between. That's been a fantastic experience. And personally, I guess the thing I've enjoyed about the most over the last year is 5 of my direct reports have been successfully promoted. I think it's a great feeling when you work with somebody on a development plan and they get to grow their own career, and you see that happen over a period of time. So that for me has been the most rewarding and enjoyable thing about working with PepsiCo in supply chain.
I think that the Dare to Do More program is a clear reflection of what we do in PepsiCo. We allow people to move between different functions, identify what is the one that is really impassioning them, and to work with people. As Richard said, okay, we have a lot of technology, we have a lot of, let me say, machines and around, but all those are managed by people, and we need to help people to grow and to think differently. The COVID has been also a nice example again to help us to think completely different. Imagine that big part of our business is delivered directly to the very, very small shops across Europe, okay? Because we provide, let me say, nice moments in the bars, in the restaurants, and so on. And thanks to the COVID, those places were completely closed. And we transform our supply chain, and instead of delivering to those, we moved to the big supermarkets that people was buying. We transformed very fast small bags that were consumed in the small bars to big bars that were consumed in the hypermarkets. And all those changes happen very fast thanks to the people involved in each process, saying, we should do this, I suggest that based on that, and taking the opinion and the ideas of everybody. People is the heart of PepsiCo. And this is, and in supply chain that we are 20,000 people, imagine how many ideas we can get from every single step, from the people that is collecting the potatoes in the farms, for the people that is identifying the best sugar, natural, that we can introduce in our uses, for the people that is cleaning and all the machines that we have across. Okay, people is the heart, and thanks to the creativity that they have, supply chain is the best place. We convert the marketing ideas in reality. Jordi explained a pretty nice example, okay? It's pretty nice to see a bag of 3 products inside, but it's pretty difficult to put those 3 products inside with the same quality, with the same, let me say, the weight and so on. The idea is in the marketing, but supply chain is the one that transforms this idea in reality.
Sure. Thank you, Belén. I'm looking at the Q&A, and there is a question. Maybe Tess, you would like to come to this one. What are the daily activities, the mission and job description of a position in supply chain at PepsiCo?
All right. Well, I think this is sort of a hard question, because I think the program, you have really a lot of freedom to also do your own thing and show what you would like to do and what you would like to learn. So for example, it is fixed that you go to 5 different departments in your year at headquarters. And also what would be part of your activities is to get to know the work of the department. So be supportive in the department to really understand, okay, what's happening here? What are we doing here? Which is of course different for every department. For example, when I was at our customer service, I became responsible for all our export Nordics customers, which is a relatively small package. So you do get a feel of what is the department doing. But next to that, I also did projects. So for example, I was asked to develop a service level tool for export customers to really show, like, okay, so what is our service level like? Where can we improve so you can really act fast on the data we have on the short term. For logistics, for example, I also did a project. It was less day-to-day work, but a project I did for logistics was collaborating with our warehouse, because we saw that it often went wrong with our return order. So when a customer declines or rejects a pallet, for example, it comes back in our warehouse. And what we saw is that the pallet is sort of shoved to the side. People forget it in warehouse until it's in the way, and then they clean it up. But then, of course, it's a lot of problems, because you don't want this flow. You want it to be, how do you say, cleaned out of the way directly. You don't want any differences in your stock. You want everything to be reliable. So I really looked into, okay, what's this problem? Why do we have this problem? How can we fix it? So it's really, really diverse. And every department you go to will also ask you the question, okay, what would you like to do? What kind of project are you interested in? There's always enough work. So you also really have the freedom to give your own input regarding which kind of projects you want to do. So it's always a combination of getting to know the department, so the daily job, supporting the daily activities, and doing a project on the side. So for me, that was a perfect balance, because you really learn so much and you get already so much responsibility.
Thank you very much, Steph. And also thinking about the future. We know skills, capabilities are evolving, and Belén, what are the key future skills a supply chain professional needs to succeed in his or her role?
I think that Richard has mentioned one that is key, whatever we say now, in the future, in the past, is people manager. People that wants not to grow, but wants that others grow, because thanks to the growth of others, you grow, no? And you need to take care of those. People with open mind, okay? Because every day we are exposed to, we work a lot in project mode because there is a lot of innovation across. We have, let me say, a very stable day-to-day that is minimum piece of our day-to-day. The rest is projects. Projects coming from innovation, projects coming for internally because we need to optimize costs, projects coming because we have a clear target of sustainability to change all our bags and bottles and so on, and people that is open to work in project mode, that is uncertainty, that changes every day and so on, and with very, very nice analytical skills, okay? Because at the end, everything needs to be supported by data. We don't need to go through all the details as Tess mentioned, but we need to understand what is the data required to take decisions in whatever step of the supply chain. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I think that Jordi and Richard can build on what I have already said.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Belen. But I will also add, for instance, I mean, be ambitious. So you need to think big. So and don't be afraid to propose things and to take risk. Okay, so this is one of the skills that also PepsiCo it's really asking for the people. Okay, don't be afraid to ask questions, to propose new ideas and everything. So.
And like hearing all of you, like about innovation, creativity, everything, like really interesting and exciting. But I'm pretty sure that there will be also like challenges on the way. So, what are your biggest challenges? Like with your stakeholders. For instance, Rich, if maybe you would like to.
Yeah, I guess that's a really tough question. I think. Fundamentally, with Belen talked about project mode. Very often we are changing something, right? Rarely is the aim just to stay exactly the same as the thing that we did yesterday. That's not how business operates. So we're always trying to change, and the first bit of any change process has to come from recognizing the need for change. So what's the problem or the opportunity, and then establishing goal alignment. So getting everybody on the same page to recognize, firstly, the need of why we need to change from where we are today. And then secondly, what is the future destination? Where are we trying to get to for this? And once we've established that, the rest of the stakeholder management will be fine, because we all agree we need to do something and we're going here. And therefore, it's just a matter of getting on with it from that point. But that initial creating the burning platform and getting everybody on the same page is absolutely critical.
Thanks. Rich, and looking at the Q&A, there is a question that maybe you would like to also to answer on that one. How much are you willing, how much do you think is, the willingness to invest in using new technologies to develop logistics?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming the question wasn't asking for a specific number. So I'll answer by saying, willing to invest a really high amount to solve the right problem or generate the right value for the consumer. Yeah, that's what we do. We put smiles on people's faces and we make products for the end consumer. So we'll take the right investment decisions to drive benefit for the consumer and for the organization, whether that be routes to market, whether that be within the warehouse, whether it be within the manufacturing facility, whether it be integrated planning systems and big data. But it's all got to give the end consumer something better than they had yesterday. Otherwise, it's not worth the investment.
And let's be honest, PepsiCo is not a company that is testing everything. We are very, very cautious of the money that our stakeholders give us to test things and to improve. And we are, let me say, very, very rigorous in identifying where we are going to do the invest. And as Richard said, always thinking about the value that we are going to provide to the customer. Because if the customers are not buying our products, doesn't matter how amazing is the technology. And we should be, let me say, and we used to be driven by this approach. Show me the money, show me the value for the customer, and take actions. And we have done a lot of experiments, but every experiment has been always approached because was a problem with a clear statement that was providing value for the customer. And in terms of challenges, the biggest challenges used to come from the customers. Suddenly, our customers, they want that instead of having pallets of this size, will be smaller. They want less bags of product in the same case. They want the cans protected in a way. All the big challenges that we embrace are coming from the customers. And because we want to, let me say, deliver the value to them, we are focused on those. And in Europe, the main challenge that I mentioned before is that we are a huge market in terms of consumers, very difficult to standardize because we have very local behaviors, very local trends and cultural let me say, aspects related to the food that we cannot produce one single bag of potatoes across or one single type of beverage. And for that reason, every idea that is coming from the customers is, let me say, reviewed carefully, because if it's adding value, we will invest on those. But the challenges used to come from the customers.
Thank you. Thank you for your answers. I can see here question for Grant, maybe Marike. Hi, should I put the trend first and create the product accordingly, or can a product be related with different trends? Marike, you would like to take that one?
Yeah, it can be both actually, and in fact, it doesn't even need to be a product. It can be also something totally different. Like for example, my idea was related to a product, but to an existing product, and more focused on the supply chain in particular. So it can also be a trend. So like for me, for example, it was then geothermal greenhouses and vertical farming. So yeah, what kind of trends on the market? What are maybe other companies doing that PepsiCo should also do? But in a different way. I'd rather focus on that. But in the end, it really doesn't matter. As long as your idea is innovative, creative, you show that you're a little bit analytical. Yeah, it really depends on how you want to go about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Marike. We have a question related to, like to the current situation, to the COVID. And Belén, maybe you could answer to this one in terms of, it goes like this: how does the current pandemic affect the supply chain management process? Assuming that less people will be involved in processes, will it push for a drive for more automation?
Okay, we should be very proud to say that in the pandemic we have changed dramatically the supply chain processes in several countries, because as I said, big part of our business was closed and we couldn't sell the products, and we have combined both a small automation in some activities, but also changing roles. People has been transforming for being a demand planner of, let me say, the Horeca channel to be the planner for a big customer. That we need to adapt to whatever situation we have. Automation can happen, not so quickly as we want, but we have done something very interesting. Due to the COVID, we couldn't train people in a lot of factories, and we have built amazing videos recorded by the front lines people and showing all the activities that helps to train newcomers faster and sooner than before. Okay. It's a very small automation, it's traditional one, is a video, but we never thought that, let me say, recording a training of how a machine can be cleaning or how a machine can be set up was really required before. The processes have changed, no doubt, but automation is a piece. The most important piece is how people is willing to change the mindset and to adapt to the new challenges that the pandemic is providing to us.
I'd add to that, Belén. I think it's an acceleration of a trend that existed before for automation. You know, I think if you talk about internal to the manufacturing facilities, we've got a relatively automated set of processes across the business. I don't think the pandemic has driven a step change in automation. What I think it's done is made us think differently about connectivity and the use of things like you see what I see glasses to connect people across the globe to solve problems rather than jumping on a flight. You know, I think that's the type of difference it's made, as distinct from we'll automate a process and, you know, we've got fewer people in the facilities. I don't think it's made that much of a difference because that was a fairly well advanced journey for the company already.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both. Going to another of the questions says, my idea has a positive global impact, but I can only have this positive impact in the long term, and it's a bit of a slow process to achieve this. Should I also to try to include any short-term benefits? Tests, maybe?
Yes, I'll be happy to answer. So I would say here, convince us. If your idea is so great, so big, and has such an impact on the long term, show us some good evidence to convince us about this. But of course, having short-term benefits is, of course, well, preferable. But I don't think if your idea is really good in the long term and you really have some good evidence and good motivation for that, I don't think it's per se a must. But that's my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tess. Conscious of the time as well, and you know, like I would like to finalize, and I'm sure that the audience will be happy to hear. So if you could give a piece of advice to the audience, you know, like to someone starting, you know, like the supply chain career, what would it be?
For me, is that to me or to anybody? Or
Anybody.
Okay,
You know,
I'll take that. The piece of advice I'd give, and I think maybe Geordie referenced it earlier, is about thinking big and thinking aspirational. And the thing that I'd say is the jobs that will exist in 20 years' time, the roles, probably aren't the same as the jobs and roles that exist today. The capabilities that are required and the types of experiences that are required will still be predictable. So think about those rather than a specific job title when you're thinking big and having a goal in the long term.
Yeah. My advice that I will give the people starting now, it's one of they gave to me when I started. It's to be curious, to ask why. There is this magic word, why. Ask why for everything. Try to understand everything. Don't take things for granted. I mean, if someone says to you, you have to do this, don't do it. Just first ask why you have to do it. Try to understand the objective of this task, and and that will help you a lot in your career, because I mean you will learn a lot from many different people from supply chain. And I mean, for sure, for me that was a great advice that I've been following all my life, and well, that will be my piece of advice for you.
And in my case, I will add the last piece, that is take others with you. Okay, this journey is not a journey that you are going to do alone. And as Jordi said, being curious, you need others. You need to embrace the opinions of other people that can be similar or not to your opinion, and also bring all those together. Ambition, curiosity, and taking others with you.
And dare to do more. Take risks. Yeah, really. Go for this. If you think, oh, this challenge is too much, or like this presentation is too much to assemble, then this is not the right job. You need to keep on saying yes. You need to be willing to grow and willing to learn. Like, this is the only way. So I think this is also why this application is so great. Mm-hmm. Dare to do it. Go for it. And then you will also succeed within PepsiCo.
Nicely said.
I am going to apply, eh?
Go for it. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining the webinar today, all the attendees, all the panelists. Thank you very much. And we will be sending the recording as soon as it's ready. And well, have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
To all.